welcome to the Living Proof Recovery Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Evan. This is Brian. Tonight we have our friend Jeremy here with us, and he's going to share his experience, strength, and hope with you guys. So we will go ahead and get this started and kick it over to Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Been looking forward to coming, actually. So I'm Jeremy, alcoholic, and I guess for me, just kind of my story is a lot different than a lot of people that I meet in recovery. I was kind of a late bloomer, I guess, for lack of a better term for it. I didn't really start heavily drinking until, my mid-30s. I've never done any legal drugs. For me, it's always just been alcohol. And I just had some, different things that piled up with me, and it just kind of led me down a path of being able to figure out what I want, what to do, and how to handle a situation. So for me, the easy answer was alcohol. It numbed everything. I could forget things. I didn't have to remember what was going on. So that was great. I could wake up the next morning not caring what happened the day before because I didn't remember any of it. So for me, it made it great. It's like, I don't know why you're mad. I'm happy. This is fun. And, but I think though, what helped me was also that I was a late bloomer because I got that benefit of remembering my late teens, my 20s, early 30s of not being an alcoholic at that time frame. Probably still was. I just hadn't turned it on yet. And I think that's something that benefited me was when I got to RIKE, because I never would have been able to realize any of that type of thing until I got to RIKE. I was, like all of us, I'll take care of it myself. I won't have to deal with that or anything. I don't need anybody's help with this. I don't need to go to an AA meeting. What if someone sees me? It's embarrassing. I can't be at an AA meeting. And then one of the guys that I met at RIKE early on, it was one of the first turning points for me, made a statement of, it's the stupidest thing you can say. He's like,
yeah, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah, you're at the meeting. They're at the meeting. Why are you going to be embarrassed to see them? I'm like, I never really thought of it that way. So
it's a pride and ego.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, but that was like just the huge turning point for me of going to RIKE, being around people that not necessarily like-minded at the point yet, because a lot of us were still trying to just figure out what we were and what we wanted from it. As the longer I was there, I realized people are there because of being forced to. Some people are there because they're there for their wife or their kids or the courts or mom or dad or whatever it is. And
so why were you there? Why were you there?
My first night there, I thought I was there just to save my marriage. I thought that was the only reason why I'm here. My wife said, ultimatum, go to RIKE, or not RIKE, but rehab. And so that I went because of that. And the very first day when I had the full sessions on detox, and I had to sit with the counselors and therapists and just the different 45 minutes to an hour sessions, by the end of the second one, it's like, I'm not here for anybody else. I am messed up. Like, I just didn't realize how bad it was.
So you had a pretty unique detox experience, right? Because,
yeah.
You want to go into that a little bit about like what those sessions looked like?
I loved it and I hated it at the same time during it. One of the things we were warned when we start, getting the toxins out of us is that your feelings are going to come back. And I didn't realize how hard that would hit. And when I got to RIKE, during detox, they don't make you go to your sessions when you're detoxing. You can skip if you want. Nobody really takes attendance. There's no force for anything. Well, I decided that morning when I got there that I'm going to whatever is offered to me. Like, I'm here for a reason. I need to figure out what that reason is. And so I did. I attended all of them. I never missed a single one the whole time I was there. But during detox, the first session I went to, one or two people came. Then the second session, I think one person came. And then throughout the day, by the end of the day, it was just me. And it was pretty much that way the rest of the other 6 days that I was in detox. And I was like, when it would happen, I would be like, damn, it's just me again. I'm like, it's only me talking again. And so I didn't love it. And it's like, no matter what, I had to share because I didn't like the uncomfortable silence that would be there. So like, it forced me to have to talk to someone because I never did. I went to therapy, all virtual. Well, that didn't do anything. I went to a couple AA meetings. I'm taking shots because my camera's off. So I'm drinking during the AA meetings because nobody knows it's virtual. So whatever. Right. But now I'm in a situation to where, it's me and one other person. And they have whatever plan they have set up. And it's their question to me. And there's nobody else to answer anything. And the first couple of days I hated it. I'm like, God, this sucks. But I kept going because I knew I had to go. That I was here to get better. But so by like the third-ish day, probably, I finally realized like this is great. I'm getting extra sessions. I'm getting extra treatment because by this point I'd started reading the big book. I didn't understand it, of course, but I'd started reading it, and I was kind of reading it really fast at first. So I just wanted to read it. I just wanted to be like, all right, and then I'd be like, all right, I'll go from there once I read it once. I'm here for 30 days at that time. And I was like, so I got plenty of time. I got nothing else going on. I don't have a phone. I don't have anything going on. So let's just read. So I did. And then, like on the third-ish, somewhere around the third day, uh, it finally clicked like, this is great. Just keep going. Just keep going to the classes. So I think by that point, I think I had my first AA meeting the night before. So that might have been something that helped with it. I had a true in-person AA meeting. And they usually didn't let detox go, but for whatever reason, they let us. So I took advantage of it. And but that day, whenever I realized like this is awesome, I cried during every one of them, I think. And then there was a music lady that would come in there, and she'd like pick a song. I'll sing it the next time I see you. I'm like, oh, that's great.
You're gonna serenade me.
Yeah, pretty much. So like during that one, it was kind of funny. Like she's singing the songs that I told her to sing, like that meant something to me about family. And
It would be so awkward.
oh, it was.
It's like a one-man concert.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it was even more awkward because the nursing students were there that day during their set through. So it's me and then 7 or 8 nursing students from Galen College, I think they come from, and then the musician person, and she's singing my songs, and I'm just over 41-year-old man blubbering, crying, like, oh God, my family. And but I loved it at the same time because it turned on different emotions that had been turned off of me forever. Like I don't remember how long they'd been off. I mean, I'd only felt like I was an alcoholic for a few years, but it was a lifetime to what I did to my family. I mean,
yeah, I remember there was a time when I was there in treatment, and I went to my sponsor and I told him, I said, man, I haven't drank in X amount of days, or I don't remember how long I was there, maybe a couple weeks. And I was like, I thought I'm supposed to feel better, and he was like, you do feel better. And I was like, I don't. Like, I've got all these feelings and I don't know how to deal with them. He's like, let me tell you what you feel better. He's like, you feel anger better. You feel fear better. You feel guilt better. And I'm like, oh man, you're right. Like I took the drink away and I'm even more pissed off. Like I'm more irritable. Like I'm just more anxious. Like, man, thank God I'm in a place where I can take advantage of those resources, like you said, because they offer all these. It would have been real easy for you to say, you know what, nobody else is in there. I'm not doing this shit.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good barometer of being able to tell of who wants to get well. It doesn't mean that people that didn't go don't want to get well.
Yeah.
But, if you're willing to go to any lengths, you're willing to sit and be uncomfortable at 3 days sober. Like that says a lot for you getting out. So what were you were going to say something?
No, I don't remember now, honestly.
My bad.
But no, it's fine. So I've never heard your story before. I've known you for almost a year now.
Yeah.
Roughly. You're going to celebrate a year Monday, is that what you said?
Yeah, so by the time this airs, he will have a year.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to hearing more about your personal story, coming into tonight, because I've never really, maybe bits and pieces through our men's group, but like I didn't know you started drinking at such a later in your life, mid-30s.
I probably had only been drunk 10 times, probably higher than that, but like drunk, probably 10 times before my mid-30s.
So like, that's
a week for
I
us.
would say, I would say that's a pretty rare case.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? That's a pretty rare case. But so what was it like as far as like how long, once you started drinking, how long did your drinking last before you wound up with this ultimatum from your wife?
Yeah, what was the progression like?
Longer than I realized. Me and my wife had that conversation a few days ago. We were talking about like how recovery's been, how much better I'm doing, and just where we were a year ago. And she always mentioned in the past, like, yeah, it had been coming on for longer than I realized. And so I'd say it probably was like a progression of like probably a 4-year, and it was like just worse and worse. Like it started off a couple times a week, stayed like that for a long time. Then it was every other day, then by the time, everything got rough, and I don't remember enough of the in between, but I remember enough of the end that it was every day, no matter what, I would have a plan. How am I going to get something? How I'm going to be able to hide that I bought something? Um,
So
so
pretty creative.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, and my thing was I was more of a vodka person. That's what I liked because it was easy.
Man,
It's
drinking
quick.
bottled water. What do
Yeah,
you need?
yeah.
exactly. Or the little airplane shots are so easy to get. They're so easy to
Yeah.
dispose of. That was my go-to. So by the time that I realized I got my ultimatum, I'd already been kicked out of my house for about 20-ish days. Probably I was living with my parents somewhere around 20 days. I was still drinking every day. On the way to work, I'd have something most likely. On the way home, I would stop and get something. It was a minimum of 10 every night, 10 little bottle shots. And especially when I was with my parents' house, it was only the little bottle shots. I wouldn't buy the big things. It's harder to hide.
Mhm.
And but by the time I went to Iraq, that day actually, I always love this, is that was the first day, and I don't even know how long I hadn't drank. September 15th, hadn't had a drink that day, and I cannot tell you the last time before that day that I didn't have alcohol, but I didn't that day. So by the time I got to Iraq that night and they do the breathalyzer thing, like I'm all like puffing my chest out, like, ha, this is gonna be fucking zero, because I know I haven't had anything today, and it was, but it's just like, wow. Later on, from being there, I realized like, wow, I was excited because I was gonna blow zero at rehab.
Like what most people do.
Yeah.
You know, like, right.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so thrilled that I have a zero at rehab right now. Like, I just didn't think right, so that was a lot of it, and I wanted to blame it on everything except for me not taking care of me, and that was really what it came down to when I really broke down to the simplest form that I thought I was there for her and my kids, and I was to an extent, but if I don't fix me, they were going to go anyway. And by fixing me, it's changed. I mean, it's changed everything, and I couldn't have done it without Iraq, that's for sure.
And you said something that is very important too. So, and it took me shit. The first time I tried to get sober was like 2011, 2012. It took me until January 2nd of 2022
Mm-hmm.
to figure it out. But and we say it all the time. We go to treatment centers or we get to speak, like whatever gets you in the door,
Yeah.
Yeah.
like that's awesome.
Yeah.
If you're coming to get sober for your wife, your kids, your employer, your mom and dad, like whatever it is,
That's
like
fine.
if that gets you in the door, that's cool.
Yeah.
But it has to evolve, right?
Yeah.
The real, but it took me 10 years of trying to get sober to realize that I have to do this for myself
Yeah.
because I want to
Mhm.
live.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to get it. So I think it's really cool that you went in there because you were like, I got to save my marriage.
Mhm.
And it sounds like very quickly you realized what the fucking problem really was.
Well, I think a lot
Yeah.
of it too was the honesty that you got from people, because I wasn't getting anything honest from anyone.
Oh, yeah.
It was eggshells. Like nobody wanted to.
Yeah.
Don't push them over the edge because they're just gonna. I'm gonna disappear and go drink, and then you're not gonna know where I was.
Mhm.
So I think that was part of it, is that like one of the people there would always say it took a lock fucking facility for you to get sober, and I loved hearing that, because yes, it did. I would not have gotten sober. I could not have. I was not a person. I was not gonna be able to go to just AA meetings. I was not gonna be able to just go to therapy and just get sober. I needed to be locked away and let that cravings and urges and all that get removed from me. And I used to, when I first was there too, I don't know, about 20 days into it, 15 days into it, they were talking about the addictions too. And I'm like, oh, it's just alcohol to get out of my system quicker. Like, I'm not a drug addict. I don't heroin, fentanyl, all that stuff. Hell, I don't even know what fentanyl still is, honestly. And they started talking about it, and they're like, yeah, alcohol takes however many years to truly get out of you for your body to recover. I'm like, damn, that was a blow too, because it's just like I didn't expect that.
There's a lot of lasting effects.
Yeah.
You know, the post-acute withdrawal and all
Mhm.
that stuff, like just the mental stuff, all the neural stuff that goes on in your brain, and just trying to get back to baseline.
Yeah.
Of all years of just poisoning ourselves.
Mhm.
That's what we were doing,
Mhm.
was poisoning our body.
Right.
Like Evan said, like, it doesn't matter. Whatever gets you there is fine.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter why you get sober. But those things won't keep you sober,
Right.
is what you're saying, and that's so true. Like, it will not, my kids won't, my marriage won't keep me sober.
Mhm.
Yeah.
but so he's right, it has to evolve, and it evolved with you, right? So like, what did that process look like as you're there? Like, was it just like an aha moment, like an oh shit moment, like oh shit, like I'm gonna die, or
Yeah.
like what did that look like?
Definitely wasn't like that. It was still a slow progression, and it was just like different things that would happen while I would be there. Just different things people would say. Obviously, the 7 days of pretty much every session being just me and a counselor or a therapist was wonderful. That was part of it. Had to be part of it. And then just the different classes, like making sure you want to read. Yes. Were you want to share first? Yes. Like, do you have anybody got anything? Yes. Like, just always wanting to say something. Even
Participate.
Participate. Like, I'm here for a reason. I don't want to just sit here and just absorb time. I don't want to be like something that somebody said to us once there. Don't come in here and just take someone's spot, because I don't want to do that. I didn't want to be there for that reason. And that was one of the just different quotes that I heard while I was there is don't take someone's spot.
Yeah, you might as well get something out of it.
Yeah.
You're there.
Yeah.
It's like, and the people that don't, it makes your stay there so much harder if you don't participate, if you're not willing to get vulnerable, or just get involved.
Yeah.
And that's a good, treatment isn't recovery, like it's discovery, but it's a really good place to start laying the foundation, because if we're not going to, if I won't do that stuff in there when I have nothing else to do,
Right.
and someone is telling me where to go, what time to eat, what meds to take, they're making sure I take my medications. If I'm doing all of these things and I still won't do it there, I mean, what are the chances of me doing it when I've got a job to go to during the day? I've got kids, I've got all these responsibilities. What's the first thing I'm going to push to the side? Well, it's the recovery.
Yeah. Right.
We used to tell clients there that treat this as your job. Like you're here for 30 days or whatever.
Yeah.
Treat it like your job right now. Like show up on time. How would you show up at work? Show up on time. Be prepared. Have your book. Have your journal. Have a pen. Stuff that's provided for you. Just do what you're told.
Yeah.
And be surprised with what happens.
Well, I think you were the first one that I heard, because at the first time you came and spoke at one of the AA meetings, I think you were the first one that said if you can't walk 20 feet, you're not going to drive 5 miles to go to a meeting.
Right.
That was another one of those just little things here, and like, aha moments.
Yeah.
And you're right, because if you're late constantly to the meeting, well, you miss something. Yeah. If you don't have what you need, well, you're not taking notes. I honestly haven't looked at my notes in a while.
You probably should.
Probably should.
It'll blow your mind. You're like, God, I'm sick.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I first got out, about 2 months afterwards, I did, and I was going through them, and then like starting at the beginning, because I think I filled up 2 full books, and I started on a third while I was there, because I was going to write everything. I wanted to take as many notes as I possibly could, because I knew it was helping. I knew I wasn't going to read it every day when I got out. I knew none of that was going to happen, but I'm someone that I'll retain stuff by writing it down. And I think that's what helped me a lot too. But I was reading it, and it's wild, just from day 1 and then to get to day 10 and then day 15 and then day 20. And I was someone that I went for the 30-day program, and I stayed an additional 15 days. And that was the best thing I did.
I bet people there looked at you like you were crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Everybody.
You want to stay here?
Now, the therapists and counselors loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they were trying to
you told me that, I was like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
We'll like fucking do that.
Because I feel like my first 2 weeks was a blur. Like, there was a lot going on.
Yeah.
Like the first week is detox, so you're not getting necessarily the actual program for a week. So you only really had the program for 21 days, which, and when you look at the way it was back then, it was a 30-day program. And detox was sort of part of it, but they had a 4-week program that they did. So I knew I'd already missed something by the time I decided to do the 45 days. And they were trying to get me to go to another location, and I didn't feel like that was right for me. I didn't feel like, when they would explain it to me, it just didn't feel like the fit. Like, I felt like I was doing good. I was making progress here. I liked my therapist there. I liked the classes that we had. I liked the program, and I felt like it was working for me. So when I decided to stay 45 days, a lot of the clients there were like, "What are you doing? You can leave." And I'm like, I don't need to leave. Like, I'm not ready to leave.
There's a difference between I want to leave and but I need to stay.
Yeah.
There's a big difference in the mindset of I can leave, but I need to stay.
Yeah.
So you showed like a lot of growth, personal growth, really early on. So how, leading up, you were there for 45 days, and you were putting in work while you're there, which is easy,
Yeah.
honestly,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
But
it is. It's
I have to get
significantly
locked
easier.
away. I can thrive under structure. It's a
Yeah.
lot easier. So
If
you're
you got a
leading,
little bit of willingness, it's easy.
right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you're leading up to this 40, your last day. What's that look like when you're coming out of there, as far as the fear goes of
Mhm.
coming back out?
Reality.
What
Yeah.
did you what were the steps you took? Like, what did you get involved with? What did you have to do? Just all of it. What did that look
Yeah.
like coming out?
So something that worked out great for me while I was in there is, like I mentioned, Brian went to the meetings and I'd heard him, I think, twice. And then the third time I listened to him, I asked him to be my sponsor. And I think getting a sponsor while I was in there helped tremendously because I heard him. I think he had told the story while we were in there, his situation and how things went with sponsorship in the beginning. I'm like, I can't have that happen. Like, I don't know what would have happened to me if it did. So I'm somebody that likes to prepare and likes to keep it organized. Like we mentioned, being at meeting, the times on being there on time for your classes and your sessions and stuff like that just went all through me when somebody would show up 10 minutes late and stuff.
Yeah.
But
Me too.
I think I think that's what helped me tremendously though, is because I did get involved with Brian while I was still there. So he gave me some assignments, gave me some things. So instead of this kind of is what led me to slowing down on the big book. Because by this point I had read the whole thing, all
Like
700.
multiple times, right?
I was on my second time reading it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the big book. He's like, I've read it. a
Like,
couple times.
like
Yeah.
not the first 164, the entire.
I
book.
read, yeah,
Yeah.
I read it full cover to
Like
cover twice before I got involved with Brian.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, but when
I
I
think
got
the
involved,
12 and 12 too, right?
yeah, it finished 12 and 12. I think, too.
Oh my, it's easy.
Yeah. And but the big book, I read it so fast first, I didn't retain much. And then the second time a little bit more. But then by the time I got with Brian, he was giving me some assignments like, look at it this way, look at it that way, do this, write this differently. The prayer, you had me write the prayer differently. Like it started clicking of, okay, I'm not preparing yet. I'm doing steps that were great to be able to prepare, but I hadn't really made the plan. Like there wasn't really a plan yet of, you're gonna leave one day. There's gonna come a point where they're gonna be like, okay, get out. And
Yeah.
I think by the time I asked them to be my sponsor, that's when I started clicking with that. I guess it was probably 20-ish days. Probably I'd been there, and I think I'd already decided I was staying the extra two.
Yeah, I think
or
so.
or it was very recent.
There
Like,
was at least
close together.
conversations being had about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I even mentioned it to you, and you probably were like, "I think it's a great idea." And I was like,
yeah, you can do it, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's when I finally started making a plan. I was probably there for 20-ish days, probably around that little bit more than a halfway mark of my full stay there. And then it's like, okay, I know I'm not reading the big book right yet. And then I felt like Brian gave me some pointers and I started reading it right. Talking to some of the people there that have been through recovery, I started learning things from them. Like the number one thing that leads you back to relapse is you stop something, whatever it is. It can be the most minor thing. For me, I read an inspirational thing in the morning, I read one at night, and then I read page 86 at night, as we retire, and then I read on Awakening every morning. And I even have it set up where if I can't read it because I'm running behind, I have it where Siri reads it to me. So no matter what, I'm hearing it every day.
Mhm.
And for me, that's what it's come down to. For me, that's what I have to do every day. Those two things, if those happen, I'm good the rest of the day. And prayers in there, and meditation's still not that great. Which we talked about that a few times. But that's when my plan started. Was after making the full decision, stay the 45 days. Brian's my sponsor. Now it's prepare. What are we going to do? What does getting out look like? What are you going to do to stay sober? So by this point, I was getting close to where I was able to go to the AA meetings outside of Iraq. So I've been looking forward to that forever too. So then I was able to actually.
You're talking about while you were there.
Yeah, while I was there, yeah. They would allow you to go, I don't even remember what it was called anymore, what you had to be on to go. but-
PHP.
PHP, thank you. So I finally got on PHP and I was able to go to outside meetings. And I think the first outside meeting was there are a few people's celebration that worked at RAC. And that was cool. Like I had never seen a celebration. I had never seen anything like that happen. So it's like, oh, this is what this is about. These people are celebrating their sobriety years, and they're like, I'm looking at these people, and some people were 2 years, 4 years. I think 8 maybe was the highest one that night. But it's just like, that's really freaking cool.
This
like,
thing works.
yeah, like
Yeah.
they look happier. They are functioning. Like I want this,
Mhm.
and that's when I started really thinking, okay, I need to figure out a home group. while I was in RIC, I was like, I got to think about that. I need to think about a home group. I like that meeting, so I knew like, hey, I live in Mount Washington. This works out great. Courage to change, bam, gonna be my home group. Brian was a member at the time there, and it was like, this is perfect. So I already had that locked in place. So I had these little things that I was setting up for when I got out. I had other books that I'd ordered that were going to be waiting for me when I got home in case I needed them. I had I had two big books. I had one that I used for highlights and studying, and then I had one that I would just use for reading, so I could just like read it and not focus on something I said before. So it helps me.
That's a great idea.
It worked out wonderfully actually, because I would catch new things,
Mhm.
and then when I caught it early on, I would go to my other book. I would mark it in there because I didn't want to mark it in my other one. I'm like, no, this is the clean book. I want to keep a clean book so that I can have that clear mind looking at it, and something's not
Mhm.
directing me to think a certain way. I didn't want it that way.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to read something new and or read something old but think of it new.
Mhm.
And I felt like whenever I was reading my book that's marked up a lot, I would always think the same. And
Yeah, and your mind automatically goes to the highlighted
Yeah.
portion or what you have, and you don't pick up on new stuff
right.
because
Especially if you wrote notes.
because you already think, well, this is what's important on this page.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to focus on. Then we miss other things that
Yeah.
are in there.
Mhm.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I think it helped me tremendously that you and I started working the steps while I was there. We had covered 1 and 2 for sure while I was there, maybe even 3. We might have
Yeah.
got through that, but while I was there, so I felt motivated. I was motivated, and that's the key. Is I had the motivation, and I didn't let the motivation stop. So when I got closer and closer to getting out, I had my home group set up. I had my sponsor set up. I had phone numbers from people that I knew I'd stay in contact with. Some of them I still do. Some of them you don't. Just the way it works.
Mhm.
I had a plan. I knew that going home was not going to be comfortable, and it was not comfortable.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, it was not great. But it, progressed. Everything progressed. I had to understand that my alcoholism didn't happen overnight. Things aren't going to get fixed overnight.
Mhm.
Like things are still not 100%. I mean, it's just the way it is. Like
Mhm.
I drank for longer than a year. I affected my family for longer than a year, and that I'm learning some of. And that since I've been more clear too, I'm learning things that I did that I didn't realize I did too. I'm finding things out still. And it's like, damn, I get why they're mad. This all kind of tracks now.
So how, just because I know how Brian sponsors guys, how hard was it for you to come home and not immediately just come in and start babbling and try to fix everything immediately? Because I'm sure you guys had a talk, and Brian probably said, "Hey,
Yeah,
we're not there yet."
right.
How
And I think
how
that helps.
because that's hard, right?
It is hard.
It's because we just want to fix everything as soon
Yeah.
as we can.
I think what helped a lot with that is my wife is a very strong person, and she was ready to, and she wasn't going to let me come in and do that because I didn't deserve it. I hadn't earned any of that yet.
Mhm.
And I think her personality, being a strong person and being a strong woman, I think that helps tremendously. I think my daughter, who was 17 when I got out, and I think her strong personality helped a lot with that too. They weren't going to let me just come in here and just like
Good
be the dictator.
Good
Daddy
for them.
home.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Good for them.
Yeah.
Fall in line.
yeah. And I
Fall in
think
line,
that
Daddy
was
home.
tremendously helpful.
Yeah.
And I think too, when I got out, one of the things I said to all everybody was, when I first got, I'm not a big 90 and 90 or 60 and 60 or any of that. I don't believe in that. I feel like you need to do what works for you. And some people, yes, it works for them. I'm not saying don't do it. For me, it just wasn't feasible. I feel like that was going to set up an expectation that was not going to be able to be met. And I didn't want to come out of rehab and immediately have something like, I missed a meeting.
Yeah.
And then like, what's going to happen to me then? So I had meetings lined up. I knew a Saturday meeting, a Sunday meeting, a Tuesday meeting, once we found it. And then I had the Wednesday meeting. I knew I had these meetings. I'm going to these meetings when I first get out. So this is still planning stuff that I did while I was in RIC. Because once I got my phone at night, I used the AA app, finding meetings and things like that. So I was planning what my evenings were going to be. And so that was something that helped a lot with my family. When I got out, it was like, hey, I know I've been gone for a while. It's been a pain getting our kid to practices, baseball practices and everything. But that's what I always did, is I always got him to practice. That was one of my roles, was always get to the sports practices. And they took care of it while I was gone. So clearly we can. And
That's hard on the old
it's-
pride.
it's
and ego,
hard.
too, when you're like, you leave, and I remember thinking like, my wife, she came up for a visit for a session or whatever, and this is how sick I was. And I remember thinking like, I'm excited that she's going to tell me how much she misses me, how they can't survive without me, how they need me. And man, it was like, I was like, and that's sick, right? Like I should want them to be doing well, right?
Yeah.
With that in my absence, right?
Yeah.
But I walk in and I'm like, so how's everything going? You know, and she's like, things are great. Like
I ain't got
she's
no
like,
beer.
I know, she's like, everything's running smooth. I was just like, oh. And it hurt my ego, and I was just like, man, but I needed to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, like I'm not the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, they can survive without me. So maybe I need to step my game up so that I can be an asset to my family, and contribute instead of taking from them and making things chaotic is what was happening. Yeah. But there's one thing so everything that you said so far, it all comes down to one thing. It comes down to action.
Yeah.
You put in the work, you put in the action, and you're getting the benefits of putting in the action. You're sober, your relationships, maybe not where exactly like if you had a wish for it to be, where it would be, but it's heading in the right direction, right? Things are getting better.
Everything's progressing.
I know your relationship with your son is better, so everything, and it all comes down to the action. What do we do?
And I think that's what helped too is they saw the action. Like they saw me 6:15 and knew I was leaving. Like
they don't need to hear this.
Yeah.
They need to see your feet moving.
They saw the reading, they saw the praying, they saw the few times of meditation. They saw the stuff that I told them, like, this is what's helping me. This is the stuff that I'm doing. So they saw it. And I think that's the biggest thing is before you leave a facility, if you're not making a plan, I don't know. I can't even begin to think of how you're going to do when you get out.
So that's a good point because it makes me. I don't remember so I started sponsoring Jake shortly after I started sponsoring you. I don't remember if I said this to Jake or if I said it to you, but I was like, "What's your plan?" And
I know you said it to me for sure.
Okay, and he started telling me, and I was like, "What I want to make sure is that when you leave here, that you don't have a damn plan left, right? We're done with your plans. We need to have a plan, but we don't need to have your plan, right? We need to have because we've tried your plans, So what we need to do is we need to come up with we need to trust on some professionals, the people that work in the facility, what's their plan. We need to talk on someone who has experience in sobriety. What's my plan or what's God's plan? Like what can we? It's just important that we have a plan, but it's not necessarily our plan.
Yeah.
Because we'll circumvent our plan until we meet what we want to do.
So.
And I pick people's brains all the time while I was there because I wanted to find out why this person that's been to 6 rehabs on number 6, like, what are you doing when you're leaving that's leading to this?
I can learn from these people.
Yeah, and like I don't think some of them believed me when I said you're an inspiration. Like you're not giving up. It's easy to fall back and relapse and just not try again, but they're still trying. Like how can that not be inspirational?
Right.
And on that note, I can say personally, I know the hardest part is just coming back.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because the way you felt when you went into treatment, you were at this just hopeless state, right?
The next time be worse.
When you relapse after having some time, especially when you've had time really sober in the program and not just dry, when you relapse, it is 10 times worse. The physical bottom might not be as bad, but the mental and the emotional gets deeper and deeper every time and gets so much worse, so much faster.
It does.
So, I love when I go into a treatment center and I love asking people in there, like, who's been to treatment before? Who's been to more than 3 treatments, 5 treatments? And I'm like, I fucking love you people.
Yeah,
You're my people.
I can't even imagine how hard that is. Like that's just
tough.
It has to be.
But I backing up a little bit. I think it's awesome that when you came home, your wife, I don't know if she verbally told you.
Oh, it was definitely understood before I got home.
Okay.
This
so-
wasn't a.
You're on the couch, bro.
Yeah.
Right.
This was a conversation that happened at
So,
Bragg. Yeah.
Like for me, my wife is in recovery. She's one of us. So I already knew coming home, and just from my past of already having some time sober in the past, I knew coming home, I'm not going to attempt to say anything and try to make this right now because I already knew and she understood that. So she wasn't expecting that either.
Right.
But I think that shows how strong your wife really is and how much she stands by you and stood by you through this time to where, you know, a lot of wives and husbands too that are not alcoholics and addicts, they expect that. They expect you to come home from treatment and immediately kiss the ground that they walk on and I'm so sorry.
Be different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Be
so
cured.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that speaks a lot about your wife and the type of person that she is. That that boundary was set.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Before you came home.
Yeah.
And and that
End up held.
Well, and at the time, you don't realize you need that too.
And I'm sure that
I was angry about it.
Yeah,
but
and that probably strengthened
Mhm.
your all's relationship.
I think in the long run it has for
Right.
sure.
So I think that's awesome. Because most people, like I said, they expect you to come back and immediately try to fix everything,
Yeah.
and that's just not the way it works.
Well, because our minds work, we want that instant gratification.
Yeah.
We want now.
That's what we
Everything.
used to. The
Yeah.
bottle gives me instant gratification every time I drink it.
Yeah.
So we tend to forecast a lot when we're in treatment. We're sitting there all day, we're in groups all day, we're looking up on the wall and we see these 12 steps and we start to think in our mind, I kind of know what that step's going to look like. I kind of know what that step's going to, I have no idea what that step's going to look like. But we tend to forecast what recovery is going to look like or what the process of working the 12 steps looks like. So, and we tend to make like mountains out of molehills. Like we look at it and we're like, oh, this is just going to be so much work. How do people do this? We get overwhelmed easily.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's the contrast, if there is any for you, of what you perceived it to look like versus what it was actually like?
Well, I think for me, for just part of what happened with me with my addiction, I was lucky enough where I hadn't harmed a lot of people. I didn't have a lot of apologies to make or amends to make or anything along those lines. But I had the heart amends. I had family amends. So I was looking forward to them because I knew it needed to happen. But I think that's something that helped me is I didn't feel like I had this list of 100 people I had to go talk to. I had like 8 that I really had to give an amends to. And I think for me, that kept me from feeling overwhelmed when I knew I was progressing in steps. And that was a huge benefit. And I think with the way you took me through the steps helped a lot too, because we didn't overcomplicate it.
Right.
Like that's all we do with most things is we like to overcomplicate everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't. We kept it simple.
Yeah.
And I think because we kept it simple, it was easier to organize my thoughts with it. Because I'm still early in recovery at this point.
Right.
But I think what helped a lot too is we finished this step. We started on the next one.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't, I'll see you in a month, we'll start on the next one.
Right.
Or it wasn't, hey, you got to do each step a month at a time. It wasn't anything like that. It was take advantage of the role we're on. And why would you want to pause that and delay anything? Why would you want to do that to yourself?
Mentioned earlier, you mentioned motivation.
Yeah.
So motivation is fleeting.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're never going to be in a constant state of motivation. Like that doesn't happen, right? It fades.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important while we're motivated to get through that hard stuff.
Yeah.
To get through that hard work while we're motivated. It's so much easier to do an inventory when you're motivated than waiting until the motivation leaves and then trying to start it. That's almost impossible to get someone to do it at that point.
That's that window.
That window.
That window does close.
Yeah.
It closes for everyone at different times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
And that was one of the things before I asked you to be my sponsor. I think you had brought someone with you that was.
I think it was Chris.
I think it was Chris. Yeah, he was roughly 9 or 10 months sober at the time,
Mm-hmm.
and y'all had talked. That's what the day I asked you is y'all had talked about how you went through the steps, and I'm like, bing, that's what I want. I can't have from picking people's brains, hearing how they did the steps and the work when they got out, it's like, you're on what step, and it took you how many years? I'm like, what?
That's
I'm
crazy to
like,
me.
I think I have this time. Like, that just didn't
No.
make sense to me.
No.
And then you explain how you did it, and it's just like, oh, this is.
If we think we have time to do the steps, then we don't understand the first step.
Yeah.
Period.
That's one thing that drives me absolutely crazy when it comes to sponsorship and just I get it. Everybody, we're all working the same steps
Mhm.
and doing the same work, but we're all doing it a little different
Mhm.
depending on who's taking us through it
For sure.
and how. And then it stems from how they were taken through it,
Right.
because how you're taken through it is how you're going to show someone
Right.
else, right?
Right.
So, but that drives me crazy when I see somebody that's like, yeah, I'm on step one. I've been on for 5 weeks, and I'm like,
Bro.
man, like, did we not read the book?
Because
Did we not
if
see?
you read it in the book, there's no work.
Yeah, and I'm
There's
like,
no
did,
work.
did we not see
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
These steps were worked in like one night.
Mhm.
Like ultimately, that's not what we're doing nowadays.
Yeah.
But that's just
it was
the urgency.
about 4 or 5 hours, and it's like, go talk to somebody tomorrow, bro. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're
like
done. You're ready.
we have to have that type of urgency.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it drives me crazy when I hear that. Well, I've been on my 4-step for 9 months, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
Like,
And then those were the horror stories
I
I've
feel
heard.
sorry. I
until
feel
talking.
sorry for
Yeah.
those people who
I
are
do
like,
too.
I've been working on for 9 months. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Like, that's insane.
Because you probably need to start over at this
Yeah.
point. Like, if you're working one of the steps that long, you probably just should start over.
Yeah, and that's what we did. It was like, hey, what's the book tell us to do? Okay, it tells us to do this. So let's do that.
Mhm.
We're just going to do that. And I think I told you, I was like, do you know, or I asked you, do you know when the perfect time to start the next step is? It's like when you complete the previous one.
one.
So like, as soon as you're done with that one, we're moving on.
Yeah.
Let's go. The first 3 steps, there's no work to do.
No.
We're gathering information. We're learning stuff. Step 1, we're identifying the problem. We're learning. We're figuring out what's wrong with us.
Mhm.
What's wrong with me? What's my problem? Step 2, what's my solution? Step 3, how do I seek that solution? Okay, then the work starts.
Yeah.
It's like
Mhm.
we're ready to do an inventory when you get out of treatment.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
When I take someone through the steps, obviously things are different from person to person.
Right.
And I have a busy schedule with 3 kids and sports and
Right.
work, and we all do. So when I take someone through the steps, I let them know up front, like, we're going to get through these as fast as we can.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
and in my mind, I'm 2 months, 2 to 3 months tops. I want us to be done.
I'm pretty sure we were just under 2.
Yeah.
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 And that's always what I tell people in the beginning. Like, I want to we're going to get this done. Like, that's how serious this is. We need to get it done. And a lot of the times they're like, we're going to have all these done in less than 3 months. And I'm like,
you need years.
yeah, I'm like, man,
Yeah.
because those are the things they hear before
Mhm.
they are
Just take your time.
before they are educated and have any knowledge of the big book and how
Yeah.
this thing really is supposed to work. So I always tell them up front, we're gonna 2 to 3 months max. We're gonna be through the steps, and it's time to work with others. Well, I'm only gonna have 3 months sober. You're damn right, and you're gonna help somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you're gonna help somebody.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm not pretty sure I told you this. I know I did actually. Is the best way I can explain it is like this is triage,
Yeah.
right? This is triage right here. When you go to the hospital, I got in a wreck years ago and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt, and I hit my head on the roof of the car and peeled back a bunch of skin on my head and bleeding everywhere from my head, and I got a serious concussion, and I got a few bruises on my arm and stuff, and a few cuts, scrapes. Well, when I got to the hospital, they triaged me. They want to get me stable, right? They're like, okay, let's stop. You're bleeding out. Let's stop you from bleeding. And that's what we're trying to do in the recovery process. You're bleeding out on the floor, man. We got to stop the bleeding. So let's get through this work, stop the bleeding, and then we'll come back and we'll tend to those little cuts, because we'll get through it. We'll get through the meat and potatoes of it, and then we'll come back. And if we need to spend a little more time on some of the reading and making sure you understand, something that's in there or just little things to help a new guy with, we'll come back to that. but we got to get you to a place to where you recovered.
Yeah.
You know, because if we don't, and we don't take advantage of that window that you were talking about, you might drink, you know, and then what?
Yeah.
You know, so we got to treat it like it's triage, like you're bleeding out. I got to stop you from bleeding. And the way that we do that is through action. You know, we got to do steps 4 through 9. We got to get to those, you know, but we can't get to steps 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 until we do 4. You know, so we got to do that stuff. And that was one thing that was really refreshing about working the steps with you, is because you wanted to do it. It was like, hey, what do I do now? Like, it wasn't, you weren't waiting for me to tell you what to do. It was like, hey, okay, I did this. I did what you asked me to do. Now what? It's like, oh, hey, this is refreshing. You know, it's usually you got to crack the whip on somebody. And I was like, oh,
That's
okay, cool. Yeah, let's do this now. You
I
know?
have a totally different outlook on things now when it comes to sponsorship, just because I've experienced, like, I've had sponsees like Evan,
Mhm.
you know, killing it. You know, he's moved away now
Mhm.
and to Florida, but he's fucking killing it.
Mhm.
You know, he's doing so good for himself. And taking him through the steps, it was like, man, he's the perfect sponsee
know,
right
right?
now.
I
This
know.
is great. And then
Yeah.
I have the ones
The
where I'm like,
knucklehead.
I gotta smash you in the face with this book to get your attention. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to do this.
Yeah.
So, are you sponsoring anyone at the moment?
Sort of.
Yes, I would say
Yeah, I'd
yes.
say it's still yes.
Okay.
And they did not want to commit early on. So I talked to Brian a few times about that. And one thing that Brian had always talked to me about before I would sponsor, and once I got a sponsee, it was you can't force them
Right.
and don't chase them.
Yeah, we don't chase
Yeah,
drunks.
don't chase them, because if you're spending your time chasing them, then who are you missing from helping them?
Mhm.
Right.
And that was something that it was hard, because I know the person pretty well, and it was hard. And it's like, but I want to chase them, and it's just like I can't, though, because I'm not doing them any good.
Yeah.
If you chase them, you're only probably making it worse for them, because now
Mhm.
you're almost giving, and they probably don't even realize it, but you're giving them what they want, attention.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we all want, is attention.
Yeah.
Like, we don't care if it's positive or negative when we're in our madness. We just want to be paid attention to. And
I think it's good to have, like, when your first sponsee, I think it's good to have
For sure.
a tough one.
yeah,
You know?
It
I
is.
think it's good.
It is. It's like
it can
trial
be-
by fire.
yeah.
It's like, well, throw you in the deep end, see if you can swim.
Yeah.
I think it would be a lot worse if you just had someone that would just immediately, I'll do whatever you say.
Yeah.
Like, that seems like that would,
Yeah.
I feel like this doesn't feel right. Like, I know this doesn't work most of the
And
time.
then when you
People
get a hard
immediately,
one, you don't know what to, you're like,
this
Yeah.
is stupid, go talk to somebody else.
what
Like,
do I do?
yeah, I need
Yeah.
someone that's going to listen. Like, I can't do this.
And I just look back over the years, like, I've had several sponsees at different points. And, like, my very first ever sponsee that I had, my very first sponsee ever, you know, he's coming up on like 13 years sober now. You know what I mean? I'm like, fucking go, bro. Like, let's
Right.
go.
That's awesome.
You know, so, but I think it's good to have a tough one, because with him, the very first sponsee I ever experienced, he was like a perfect. So I was right from jump. I was like, this is what it's about. This is how it's always
This
going
is
to be.
easy.
And then I'll get another one. I'll be like, this asshole. Like, what did he do? You know,
It's
but
not
then
that complicated.
I was the asshole several
Yeah.
times too over the years. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
so I have a whole new perspective. Like when I'm working with sponsees, I get frustrated sometimes. I'm like, but I was doing the same shit at one point. You know,
Yeah.
like not fully committed,
Mhm.
dragging my feet. You know, I did all that, so I get it. But
Yeah, you know, it takes a level of humility and responsibility and some willingness, open-minded, you know, some things that just come to mind, you know, that we have to have. Like, they're necessities. Like, we have to have those things in order to be teachable,
Mhm.
you know, and you had those things. You know, that doesn't mean that things always go our way.
No.
You know, we don't know what God has in store for us. You know, we might think that I know where the destination is, and I know exactly what it's going to look like when I get there, and I know how long it's going to take. And he's like, "Nah, bro, like it's going to take longer than you think, and it's not going to look like
Mhm.
you think it's going to look in your head." You know, and that's okay. You know, as long as we just keep staying on that road,
Mm-hmm.
like you were saying earlier, is once we get on that path, it takes a lot of things to get on that path, but then it takes things to stay on the path,
Mm-hmm.
and staying sober is a lot different from getting sober,
Yeah.
So, like, what is your, and I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, right? But so how do you stay where you're at now, and how do you continue to grow?
I think things like this, just
Mhm.
doing things in recovery, helping another addict, anything that you can possibly do, from messages with each other, from readings, from going to meetings, from being open, not hiding it. I think that, like your all's last one podcast was talking, or not the last one, but one before, I think it was.
I want to get them out today.
Was it today? Okay. Not hiding your addiction and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, today's. But I think that's a biggie for me. Like, I don't like outwardly go to people that I work with and say, hey, I'm a recovering alcoholic. I don't outwardly say it, but if it comes up, I'm, well, I'm a recovering alcoholic. Like, weren't you wondering where I was for 45 days last year? Like,
Right. Yeah.
they don't usually just give you that long of a vacation.
Yeah.
And, but like, I tell people if it comes up, if it's necessary, I don't outwardly just go say if it's not part of a conversation. Well, yeah, well, I'm an alcoholic. And I think it's just, for me, a lot of it is remembering how bad it was and what I was doing to people that I love and care about and what I was doing to myself. Because, like, one of the examples that I was excited for this year, I had to get my medical workup that we have to do for our insurance every year. And they check your liver enzymes and everything. Well, last year, my liver enzymes were 75 plus. Like, it didn't even give me a number. And then this year, I got them like, these motherfuckers are going to be great. And they were wonderful. So it's like, this is, there's a point to this. Like, I'm healthier now.
Right.
So like that part of it works for me. Like, I know I'm healthier because of it. I know my relationships with my parents, my wife, my kids, with God, all of these things are better because I'm not an alcoholic. Like, I'm not drinking all, well, I am an alcoholic, but I'm not drinking constantly. I'm not always trying to find my next fix. Now I'm focused on how am I going to be a better person today? What am I going to do for someone else today? Like, I had one situation, and you kind of called it like the aha moment, where when I first got out of treatment, we got a bill in the mail, and like insurance hadn't covered anything yet. It was, I don't even remember what the amount was, but it was like
a lot.
it was a lot. There were 6 numbers on the bill, like, and there was a comma in the middle, and it was not pleasant. But I got it. I'm like, well, this sucks, and it didn't trigger anything with me. I didn't like lose my shit. I didn't go like off the deep end. I didn't go drink. I didn't even have an urge for anything like that. I just looked at it and it's like, well, I gotta pay it. We gotta pay it. Like, what are we gonna do? It is what it is. But I'd already, and I was like, I'll talk to somebody tomorrow because at the time I was still going to ILP, and I was like, I'll just talk to somebody tomorrow. I said, the insurance hasn't covered it yet. That's all it is.
Most people freak out when they get that.
Yeah.
So I knew you had been doing the work when you called me about that. And
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, it's like cool. Man.
But they also prepared. They prepared us at RAC for that too. Like, hey, you're probably going to get a bill where insurance hasn't come out. Don't panic. So I was like, why? I don't think they're going to lie to me. So I got it, and I'm like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Was what's going through me. Well, my wife was not prepared for that. She's like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And I was just like, it's okay. I'll talk to somebody tomorrow. And then it took a little while, but before you know it, it was like, oh, this is not anything remotely that costs. So just like little things like that, like I can handle a tough situation now. I can handle a tough person. Someone doesn't dictate my day any
You
longer.
intuitively know how to handle things, which is the best.
So yeah, I'm still bad about quoting and stuff, but yeah.
What is that called? All these things you just mentioned, like recovered.
Yeah.
You have recovered
Yeah.
from a hopeless state of mind and body.
Yeah.
You can always get sick again.
Oh, absolutely.
But at this point, doing these things that you're talking about and living the way you're and giving back and your spiritual life, all these things you have recovered at this point.
Yeah.
You know?
And I know
it just
I know that it only takes one, and I know that everything resets, and I will be in that dark place again. I know that. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that one would change everything, and I have zero interest. I haven't thought about having a drink in almost a year at this point. I mean, I was probably,
it's amazing, isn't it?
yeah,
Great feeling.
it was probably the first week in RAC. I probably never thought about drinking again. The only funny thing that happened that I said in RAC was Well, what do you think about when you live? Because I live in Mount Washington. There's a liquor store everywhere. Like it just every way I go home.
What do you think about existing?
Yeah, yeah. And they were like talking to us about it. They're like, well, you've never had any urges since you've been in here. And I was like, no, I really haven't. Like I never had that moment of I have to get out of here to go drink or anything. The only funny thing I ever thought of was I used to see the guy at the liquor store so much. I'm like, should I go tell him I'm okay? Like, I'm like, no, I'm not going to. But it's like I used to see this guy every day. Like, is he wondering what happened to me? I don't know. It's just weird things like that is what I thought of because I was thinking about someone else, not myself at the time. Is the way I looked at it. Is that
Yeah.
I didn't care to go talk to him because they had a drink. Like that's the furthest thing from my mind.
So that's a good point. Like we're thinking about ourselves, right? So we got a couple things that. So that I'll touch on that here in just a second. But there was one thing that you were saying about being healthy, right? So there's not a single thing on this planet that we're not better at if we're healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. Like I'm better. The healthier I am, the better father I can be, the better dad I can, or husband I can be, better employee,
Mhm.
better friend, better role model, like whatever, insert whatever activity,
Yeah.
right? I'm better if I'm healthy, right? So there's that. And then the thing about what we were just saying is, it's not only thinking of myself, right? We did that a lot,
Yeah.
and there was a time that I remember you were in treatment. I was up there for a meeting, and I don't know how we got on the topic, but it was about making amends. And you were like, "I'm really excited about making amends," and most people don't look at it that way.
Yeah.
And you remember this?
I did. Yeah.
Okay. And I was like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Why are you excited about making amends?" It's like so I can feel better. And I was like, "That's a bad motive."
I think you were happy I said that.
I was, because I was
Yeah.
like, I get to knock him down a peg
Uh-huh.
here because he needs to know that. I was like, hey, it's like, that's a selfish motive. And you were like, what?
Mhm.
And it was like, this isn't about you.
Mhm.
I was like, we're not there yet, but that part of the process is about, righting wrongs. It's not so that I can feel better.
Mhm.
Now and I told you, I was like, now you will feel better
Yeah.
through the process. That's part of the process,
Mhm.
but that's not why we do it. It's really important. Our intentions matter
Mhm.
of why I'm doing things, because even if it's something good, it talks about in the big book, isn't he not a self-seeker even when trying to be kind?
Yeah.
Right. So what is my motive for what I'm doing? Do you find yourself having selfish motives today? I mean, I do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like
it
that.
happens.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so, of course. I mean, but nothing like before.
Right.
I mean, like it's nothing where it's me be damned with everything else. Like I don't have anything like that ever anymore.
Right. That's what I
Yeah.
wanted to know, because or I already knew that, but
Yeah.
that's what I wanted you to touch on, because um, Evan was talking earlier, saying you had recovered. So you've had this psychic change. It's a total shift
Mm-hmm.
in personality and motivation, intention, and it just comes naturally. Like it does. It's like your new default.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least I can speak for myself, but like that's just my new default. As where before it would be selfish, manipulate, lie, just right off.
Oh yeah.
Don't even need to lie, but I'm gonna lie.
You're gonna get a lot of it.
But I'm gonna lie.
Yeah.
But and now, if I notice that I lie about something, like it eats me up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't like it. It gives me this uncomfortable feeling.
Oh,
Or if I know I've harmed someone,
Mm-hmm.
I have to make it right. Like,
Yeah.
or at least have to make an effort to make
Mhm.
it right. Because even if I didn't mean to do it,
Yeah.
it's like, and that's that psychic change.
Mhm.
So, like, where have you noticed that in your life? And a lot of times we don't even notice it.
I think sometimes it's just like being at home or something. If something's not going the way you want, I realize like, okay, it's not about what I want. It's there's three other people involved in everything. Like if what I want's going to harm the other three of them, well, I don't have to do that certain whatever I think it is. And it doesn't really come up that much in family life, honestly. But at work, it happens all the time because we just have a rough situation right now, and some of the employees can handle it better than others, and it bothers some of them more than it does others. And I'm just at a point now where I think of things differently to where I don't let these little things eat at me. I don't let someone dictate how I'm going to be that day. And I think that's something that, because of all this, it's like you all mentioned in the other cast, that we're getting the best version of ourselves.
Mhm.
So like I'm able to share that with people, and I'm able to help them by taking some of the load off of them, and then them seeing me being positive, and like, I mean, I'm not going to change the situation, but I can make it worse if I want to make it worse, and I can make it just the situation if I want to make it just the situation. And I think that's been something that for me at work I've been able to help a lot of people with, is that they can see me not just just like collapsing down, like just going off, oh, poor pitiful me on
Well, it's
these
contagious.
things. Yeah, and you can tell that sometimes it works for them, sometimes it doesn't.
Positivity is contagious.
Absolutely. And I think I've gotten back to where, because before my drinking, I was a very positive person. I've never been like a big go out in a group and like talk to people thing. And that was one of the things early at RAC I had to break the habit of just going off and reading. I had to take some of the group setting, and like even outside of the sessions, I had to be like in the moment still, because there was a lot you could take from people. I had to break the habit of going off and doing whatever I wanted, and realize like it still is a group thing here, and I can offer something even if I don't even realize I'm offering something. And that was a hard thing for me to do there, and I think it just carried over to where like I don't necessarily look for something to do it with. It's just, I think, just the daily actions and just the way I live, and
It
just
just
the way I do.
comes.
Yeah, it just comes naturally now. I don't realize it until someone points it out, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is great. I love that feeling. Yeah.
That's where you want to be.
Yeah. It's not fun being negative. It's not fun trying to remember the lie. It's not fun trying to remember what you did the night before. It's not fun, any of it. None of it.
Hurting people.
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah.
It's awful. I want to be the reason you smile, not the reason you cry. And
Mm.
that's a biggie for me now. Is like that's one of the things we send in one of the chats I have is a lot. Is that's the last thing I write a lot. Is be the reason someone smiles today, and that doesn't take a lot. Like that's
Right.
easy. It's easy
Yeah.
to make someone smile.
Yeah.
It can be the simplest little gesture. It can be something goofy you do.
And we don't know, like, we might think that that's something small.
Mhm.
You know, something, oh, you look nice today, or I like your shoes, or whatever it is, right? But we think it's this tiny thing, but we don't know. That person could have been sitting in front of the mirror for an hour before they came to work and like just discussing with themselves, like, God, I'm ugly. I look like shit.
Yeah.
You know, and then you're like, hey, you look nice today. And it's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Like, oh, wow. Like, it just can make your day. A
Mhm.
compliment can make someone's day. Or just being helpful
Absolutely.
can make someone's day.
Not being aware of just yourself, like being aware that there's other people, there's other lives going on around you.
Yeah.
Your life,
For
I mean,
sure.
it's important. Don't get me wrong, but that doesn't mean theirs isn't. Like, I mean, it's
Right.
you got to do things that's going to help other people, and that's something that definitely being recovered and going through this process and meeting people like you all has shown me. It's like the smallest little thing can just change so much. Like we're getting ready to start the new book, the Dharma,
book.
yeah, the reference book, and I haven't read it yet because I'm like I don't want to have an input before we start doing it together, because I think you've read it before too, haven't you? Yeah, y'all both read it, right? Yeah. And so I didn't want to read it beforehand and like have a predetermined bias to anything. I was like, no, we're going to study it. I'm going to study it. So I've held off on it. It's just sitting right next to my bed, ready to come whenever we start doing that. But
Is that next week?
The 18th.
18,
Next week.
But like I think things like that, I didn't read before this. Like I can't remember the last time I read anything. I bet I didn't read a full book through high school or college.
Yeah.
And
Same.
yeah. When I was at Rock, I read, besides the big book, I read like 10 other books while I was there. So it's like, this has just turned on a different part of me that I didn't really even realize was there, or I'd forgotten was.
Yeah.
And that's what's cool with it all, is that when you get that clear mind again, you realize like your world just changes and opens up again. And sometimes it's just hard to explain.
It's impossible to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where we get, I don't know, frustrated is the right word, but like when we're working with a newcomer, you know, we can transmit it through our actions and how we carry ourselves and everything, but they won't really understand until they experience it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like with anything else in life. You know, you don't know what it's like until you have, you know, you don't know what it's like to sponsor someone until you sponsor someone.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, I'm not ready yet. Well, you're never going to be ready, bro. Like,
Yeah.
yes,
I mean,
you are. You got your experience.
Yeah, even now with I've sponsored several guys over these last, over 3.5 years now, but even now, like I come to you and ask you questions,
Right.
and my sponsor, and I can bounce questions off of so many different people
Mhm.
Those
in my
poor
life.
first guys I sponsored.
Right. That's what this is about.
Yeah,
We don't do this alone. At any point of this journey, we're not alone.
Right.
Well, there's a reason why somebody that has 30 years sobriety has a sponsor.
Right.
Like,
Mhm.
I mean, that to me was something I picked up pretty quick. It's like, because not knowing a lot about recovery and not knowing a lot how sponsorship and all that stuff works, to me in my mind is kind of like what Tony always jokes about, where they were like, "Oh, so you're done? You don't have to do this anymore?" And it's like, no, I don't think I thought of it on that level necessarily, but I never thought of the concept of, oh wow, you've been sober 30 years, you have a sponsor? They've been
Right.
sober how long? Like, it just never, things like that didn't click to me, but it makes sense because if I'm ever at a point where I think I know everything, I'm going to be drinking probably in the next year. Like,
Mhm.
I don't think your relapse isn't going to happen like that. Your relapse started days, weeks, months, years.
When you
before.
pick up that drink, that's when the relapse ends.
Yeah,
Because it starts well before that.
yeah, absolutely.
Like you said earlier, and it's never. I don't think I've ever seen a case where this has not been true. Is when you go to a treatment center, or when I worked there, or at a meeting, someone says, "Oh, I relapsed," or whatever. It's like, well, what happened? Like, I'll ask them what happened, and I already know what happened.
It's the same
You know,
answer
it's
every
the
time.
same
Mhm.
pat answer every time. Oh man, I stopped calling my sponsor. I stopped working the steps. I stopped going to meetings. I
Mhm.
stopped helping others. It's always the same thing, and if they're not in denial.
Yeah.
If they're in denial, it's like, oh, my girlfriend left me,
Right.
and then it's like, oh, why'd she leave you? Because you were
Right.
irritable, restless, and discontent all the time because you quit doing what?
Yeah.
That's usually what it comes down
Yeah.
to.
You can get
You
it
know.
out.
Yeah.
Whatever the excuse is, that
Yeah.
you can get the truth out.
Right.
Well, that's something I have to be better at. I don't call you enough. But I don't feel like I have anything to call you for, so I'm like, I don't need to call him.
Well,
And we've talked about that before. Like,
yeah. So I have. So the way that I sponsor, right, and this is just me, is I kind of look at sponsorship as I want to work myself out of a job,
Mhm.
right? You're a recovered alcoholic. We're not working steps right now. And I didn't set it up that way in the beginning. Hey, you have to call me every day because I don't want your dependence to be on me,
Mhm.
right? I'm a person. I want your dependence to be on your higher power. I want you to continue to do the work. I'm always here.
Right.
You know that. Like, I'm always here. And we do need to talk more often, but it's not like a situation where we have to talk every day.
Mhm.
That's just not the way that we set it up. And if we did, that would be okay.
Yeah.
I talk to my sponsor probably 5 days a week on my way home, but not because we're talking about like my recovery. I just enjoy talking to him. We're friends.
Yeah.
I just like to talk. Hey, how was your day? Oh, mine was good. How was yours? We
Yeah,
just
I'm
talk.
bad about small talk. Like, that's just not something I've ever been good with. So I don't just,
Yeah.
hey, what are you doing? Like, we're just
Yeah.
going. That's just not me, and that's where I got to get better at that though, because if I don't, then I'm going to still stall out as a person, and that's not what we're supposed to do in our recovery. We want to be growing at all times.
Yeah.
I'd say I call my sponsor three, 4 times a week, and check in. And then in turn, he's like, man, you call me. I need to start calling some people. I
Right.
need it.
And you've mentioned stuff like that before too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it comes back to it's not all about us,
Right.
right? Because when a sponsee calls me, it helps me.
Mhm.
So it helps me if
Yeah.
you call me.
Yeah.
Because and Jake was the same way. And then he would finally start calling me, and then we would end up something would come up in conversation, and it'd just be like, oh, yeah, let me help you with that, and or he would help me with something, and so we don't want to be selfish in that way, like, because we can deprive other people of that experience of being of service,
Mhm.
so yeah, we'll get better at it.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's
Everything's
all about
working.
growth. We're just trying to grow.
Mhm.
So, you got anything else?
No,
All right.
not that I can think of.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, this is great.
Appreciate
Yeah.
having you. Congratulations
Thank you.
on 3 days from now.
3 days from now, Monday.
Congratulations on 362 days.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It is,
Big
man.
deal.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is,
it's
man.
over one day, so
It is, man. I already got your chip. I'm ready, or your coin. You know, I'm excited to give it to you.
Yep, I'm
So,
excited to get that. Yeah, it's a cool one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good deal, man.
Yeah, good to have you, man.
Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome
you all. I
back
appreciate it.
anytime.
Yeah, thank you all.
Sure.
Thanks,
Yep.
brother.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.